these costumed vigilantes are least likely to kill you, intentionally or otherwise.
Hey, Brian.
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you? How's
doing...
your Easter?
We did Easter stuff. We did Easter stuff on Saturday, which culminated in a 50-round game of Cards Against Humanity. So, you know.
Nice. Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Oh, it was. Hopefully this works. Because I'm using a new headset to record everything. So hopefully.
Oh, nice.
All of that is being all of your audio is being captured, and it's not just me shouting into the void like I usually do. Right. So I
actually do have a new headset as well.
Ooh. Lovely.
So I'm hoping my mic quality will be a little better than it usually is whenever I'm being recorded.
It sounds pretty good to me so far.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I only have I was just explaining to people.
And this time I actually.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say this time I have my notes written down for all the different topics.
Yay! Yeah, I was about to say I only have the 6 main topics that we mentioned. Originally it was like 5, and I'm like, man, I need more. I need more material to work with here. But as a non-movie person, it's like
I am excited.
It's like
I am excited to talk about comfort movies.
Yeah, and comfort movies are like an important. Did I throw that in here? Like the movies thing, the first movie scene, good, bad. I don't think I have like an expressly comfort movie thing. So let's make that 7. Ba-bam. There we go. Because I didn't see anything that was like expressly comfort movie, so I have to make sure that I actually remember to throw the damn thing in there, because not a movie person. Like, the extent of...
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in my first point once we get to that, but I have a major gripe with movies that, as a personal person, that I can't usually deal with.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting topic to get into as well.
Yeah. So, how's your Easter been, then?
Pretty alright. I've just been kind of chilling in my dorm most of the day. I did treat myself the other day to a chocolate bunny that I'm probably going to start later today.
Nice.
Because since I'm away at college, I really can't celebrate Easter the same way that I would with my family, so I'll just buy myself some chocolate and call it a day.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've just been playing Dead by Daylight and just chilling.
I've been getting back onto my previously obscene Injustice 2 grind as of late, because, you know, Mortal Kombat 11 isn't doing it for me anymore, so I'm going back to Injustice 2 to grinding, and I am super close, pardon the pun, to get Supergirl's legendary gear piece, and I actually have a video planned where I want to talk about 5 things that I want them to keep for Injustice 3 from Injustice 2.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
And I have an almost 40-minute long, not entirely cohesive rant about Premier skins, so...
Nice. I'm actually planning on starting the Black Canary Legendary grind sometime in early May, once I'm done with school.
Yeah.
For now. So that way I can have like a little more time on my hands to do that. Because at this point, I only have 2 characters left that I want to actively grind out, and that's her and Green Lantern.
Okay. Because Green Lantern has, like, in terms of, like, the ability slots, the most efficient one, because it's all of his old moves.
Yeah. Like, which totally makes sense now that I think about it, because his requirements are probably the most tedious out of all of them.
I'm
Like,
gonna say it's the fact that you have to technically sacrifice 1,000 pieces of gear for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because for some strange
yeah,
reason, not all of the requirements carry forth across all the turtles, and I hate that.
that's awful.
And it's,
Also, hey,
hello, Matty.
Apologies for the late entrance.
Hey, hey, you can't be a Batman person without making an entrance, right?
Nah.
All right, fantastic. So, movies is the topic of this WraithCast, and I'm calling it the WraithCast because branding power. So, for the very first point I want to talk about, this is a very personal gripe with me with movies, and it's a gripe that's coming back, and I personally am not keen on it um, with Avengers Endgame having an official runtime of
Yes.
of 3 hours and 4 minutes. And Zack Snyder's Justice League being over 4 hours with an original running time of 6 hours.
Oh,
And-
I'm
Oh,
vibing.
God.
I'm vibing. I
Yep.
hate it so much.
Yep, you can see where
that's
this
a
is going.
nightmare.
Yeah, you get where I'm going with this. And a lot of movies have this perception that 2 hours is average or now below average because they're trying to like make 2.5 hour movies kind of the norm. Are movies getting too long for you guys as well? Like I remember, like I can sit back and knock back the first couple Predator movies in an afternoon because they're each like under 2 hours apiece, right? And there's other movies that are like 90 minutes. Like the original Lion King was 88 minutes long, and it's a freaking Shakespeare knockoff. So what do you think? Are movies getting too long? And if they're
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh my god.
and that leads to my next question: what is too long of a movie for you? Like obviously it's a spectrum, right? Certain movies, if they're like, I could watch Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom even though it's over 2 hours long, but if it were 3, I don't know, right? So like, what's too long for you guys?
Anything over 2.5 hours, like, I think my personal preference for like a movie length would be 1 hour and 40 minutes to 2 hours and 10 minutes in that time frame, because like I'm gonna use the less is more statement here. I don't think movies need to be super long.
Yeah.
I mean, if people want to see a director's cut, that's totally fine, but I don't want that being the norm
Yeah.
of movies.
Like that's for the special edition DVD.
Literally. Like, I'm not the type to be able to sit still very easily, and if I'm not interested in a movie, like super, super engaged into it, sitting in a theater or sitting in my room for like God knows how long, wanting to move around, but the movie's like 2.5 hours or longer, it's just not great. I do not want to have to sit through a movie theater experience for like
Yeah.
over 2.5 hours.
Like,
I get that.
And just on that topic of the theater thing, like the reason why I say the links are coming back is because I am a bit of an old soul. I mean, I have all of the original Twilight Zone episodes on Blu-ray, so Rod Serling and his commentaries and
Nice.
whatnot, right, from 1959 to 1963, and I have a whole bunch of old, like really old movies, like the original Godzilla. And
Yeah.
there was this weird trend in, I've noticed, in like, for the big theater epics of like the 1940s to the 1960s, where they were all like 3 or 4 hours. Like Lawrence of Arabia is 4.25 hours long. I am not kidding. These movies were so long because at the time movies were more like plays, that like actual stage plays that would repeat, or that you could like
Yeah.
repeat at any time flawlessly. They would have intermissions in the middle of them. Like there would be specifically, like, they would get to the middle of the movie, and then they would be like, okay, 15-minute intermission, go get a smoke break, because you could smoke in theaters in the 50s. And, like, And
The
Justice,
good old days.
yeah, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I should be clear. Did something kind of similar, but it did it in a way that I admittedly kind of appreciate. Is that they split it up into chapters with graphics and such, right?
I watched it with chapters, and I watched it over like 2 days, and I took like a 30-minute break in between each chapter, and then I took like I watched the first half. Yeah. You can like break it down.
Yeah, but at that point, like, not to belittle Zack Snyder's vision or whatever, but like, at that point, this is a genuine question. Why not turn it into a mini-series instead? Like,
oh, that's exactly what I was about to bring up. Like, if you can format this super long director's cut into like a mini-series or like a one-season show, for example,
yeah,
that would be so much easier for a lot of people to digest.
Like with one of my favorite docuseries, Walking with Dinosaurs, the original one. It's 3 hours long. It's 3 hours long, but it's split across 6 30-minute episodes. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy to do. Like if you do beginning, middle, and end, but continues to tell this overarching story, like what Zack Snyder's Justice League did. I'm keen on that. I'm keen on that idea. But at the same time, it's like, at that point, is it even a movie, or are you binging a Netflix series? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
that's like a whole thing in of itself, just like how binge culture has kind of played a bit of a role into longer movies as well, because they think, oh, if people can sit through an entire season of a show in a day, maybe we can benefit from having longer movies, when I feel like TV and movie are two extremely different mediums.
Yeah, they are.
And it's like, so I'm gonna bring up Star Wars now.
Go on ahead.
No, but like the thing about Star Wars is, right, they've got that consistency, whether it's good or bad or whatever Star War I'm going to see is irrelevant. I know that if I go and see a Star War, they all clock in at like around 2-ish hours.
Yeah.
A little bit more, a little bit less. So I know I'm gonna spend 2 hours in this movie theater, and I'm gonna come out of it, pleased or upset or whatever it is. But I know I'm gonna spend 2 hours, so I'm like, okay, this is gonna be 2 hours of my day. But then, like, with Endgame, with, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and hell, even like Lord of the Rings or whatever.
Oh god.
That's 3 hours of my time, 3-4 hours, and it's like...
I forgot about the Lord of the Rings movies. Why?
Yeah. But look, I love superheroes. I love the superhero genre, but also I'm not deranged, and I have like a life, and this movie needs to be over so I can fucking go home already.
Yeah. Like to go back to the superhero point, all superhero stories, like modern superhero stories, yes, you could argue they were inspired by ancient myths of ancient times, blah, 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 blah. For the original comics, the original superhero comics, like Superman comics and whatnot, you could read on the back of a newspaper. A lot of and outside of omnibuses, if you've read physical comics, most comics are like 20, 30 pages. You can knock out a comic issue in, 2 hours tops?
Literally.
Like, as far as... And compare that to a normal book. Like, I don't know, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I don't know why that's the first...
Frankenstein was actually kind of short.
Yeah, and that's a shorter story, but it's still 150 pages,
Yeah,
I would say?
like, all the classic ones. I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That was kind of short too.
Yeah, but that's the point that I'm trying to get at, is that if you know the lengths that you need to go to tell a story, then don't overblow it. Bloating is a huge problem in any medium that tells a story. Video games. How many video games have you played with so much artificial grind? It's like any Ubisoft game, like
I was just about to bring up Odyssey.
Yeah.
I've still not finished my first playthrough of Odyssey because the grinding just got to me, and I was like, nah.
Yeah, the behind the scenes bullshit aside, with all the terrible crap going on at Ubisoft, how long is a freaking Ubisoft game, right, these days, where it's like, where 50 hours is seen as below average, and then you compare it to Marvel's Spider-Man, which, even more recent, that's 20 hours, and then Miles Morales is 10, which is like, one of the original.
Honestly, like, that sort of length, like the 10 to 20 hours for like a campaign, like, that just feels normal to me. 50 hours is way too much, and it's like, I don't have enough time to really get fully engaged in this.
Yeah.
A massive reason I just completely skipped out on Persona 5 while it was like super hyped up was like I kept hearing people talk about how like, oh yeah, if you really want to get through like the entire main story, it's easily like between 50 and 60 hours, and I'm just like, oh my god,
right?
I can't do that.
That's the biggest thing. Like it feels like media has this obsession with go big or go home, and hey, look, man, I understand giant monsters and giant explosions are one thing, but when you have executives telling people, hey, in order to get all of the content in this game, you're gonna have to devote an almost unhealthy amount of time into it. Like, again, let's use Mortal Kombat as an example. Any of you guys played the 3D era games?
I have played a little bit of Deception, but I don't like own any copies.
Yeah, like when it came to unlocking a lot of content, because MK had a lot of content even for a fighting game to unlock, and in the Crypt, that was like a 30-40 hour that's a 30-40 hour commitment to get everything from the Crypt, right? All the characters and all the concept art and whatever. I have almost 600 hours of Mortal Kombat 11, and I still don't have everything. What?
Yeah, I feel that because you get to the point where you got to put like the severed heads on the spikes, right?
I cheated that. I cheated that when that was an exploit that you could do.
Yeah.
I unfortunately did those severed heads back when it was like 100-something fatalities you had to do before they shortened it to 50. I did the entire cast.
It's like 25 now, I think.
Oh my gosh, I really did go through all that.
Right? I didn't even bother. I heard about the exploit and was just like, let's go! So, but yeah, that ties back around to the movie thing, because again, now there's this obsession with like, okay, 2 hours isn't enough for an epic, we need to make it 3. Oh no, Zack is doing 4. Like, I really...
And like, on the flip side of that, you have all the DC animated movies, which are all great, and they all clock in at like an hour 20 max.
Yeah, like I think the longest of the DC animated movies, because there's like Justice Society of World War II is gonna be their 42nd one.
Yeah.
I think
I'm excited for that one.
Oh yeah. I love that clip that they have where Barry's like, I've never seen heroes work so well together before, and then they're like, and then the guy's like, kid, you ain't seen nothing yet, and then it's just this badass shot of the Justice Society coming up. Black Canary's got the palmed fist. Jay Garrick is stretching, ready to go. It's like, ah! But sorry, I'm geeking out because I love Jay Garrick to death, but that's besides the point. But again, let's take Under the Red Hood, that was my entry into the DC animated movie thing.
Same.
And that, I showed my mom that. It was nice, clean, concise, it told a story. It didn't tell everything, sure. But it was still a nice enough adaptation of the movie that it keeps people going. It's 75 minutes. It's barely over an hour.
Let's see, I'm trying to... Because I think the first DC animated movie I watched was Assault on Arkham.
Okay.
I rewatched that recently. It's fucking good.
And that was... Oh, that's only 76 minutes. Damn.
Yeah, like... And I think the longest of the animated movies is... by coincidence, one of the worst of the animated movies. Justice League
Apocalypse War?
Apocalypse War, yeah. And
Yeah.
because I
refuse to watch that.
look, I want to put that up, I want to put this up front right now. I'm not implying that a long movie is a bad movie. I wanted to say that,
no, like,
right?
look,
It's just that if you have the patience to sit through a 4-hour epic of Lawrence of Arabia, more power to you. But myself, Mono, and Matty, we can't do that.
nope.
And it's definitely
I-
something we could gripe about personally.
My limit is, I would say, is like 2 hours 45. I can do 2 hours 45 just barely. 2 hours 30, that's like my prime spot. But
Yeah.
there is no movie on earth that like warrants a 3-hour like runtime.
Yeah.
I don't care what your like vision is. I don't care what story you have to tell. There is nothing that will justify 3
Literally.
hours.
I will tell you, again, this is just going to lead back to Apocalypse War, because it's, because Apocalypse War is bad for multiple reasons, and it is a rough movie to watch. Like, I'm going to tell you guys, like, for those of you who haven't seen it, it is rough to watch. Not just because it's, like, not just because, you know, it's not the best, like, paced or whatever. I mean, the content inside is genuinely disturbing to watch for an animated
Literally.
movie. Like, if this was a live action flick, it would have gotten an NC-17 rating. I am convinced.
Like, I heard what happened to some of my some of the characters I really, really love, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to sit through.
Yeah, no,
that.
it is brutal. And like obviously I get what they were going for. They wanted to show that Darkseid does not fuck around, right? But I feel like they went 3 or 4 steps too far with that movie.
Yeah.
They went 3 or 4 steps too far. Like, killing some characters for the story plot is one thing, but, you know, literally chopping one of the most popular DC characters in half just because you can is like, is that a little too much?
It says a lot that literally the only single positive thing I heard about this movie was the Constantine and King Shark joke, and that was it.
Yeah, this 15-second gag where our bi-icon, or do we call him a bicon, I guess?
Yeah.
John
Yeah,
Constantine,
like-
hooked up with a literal shark demigod. Anyway, again, to bring it back to length, that kind of factors into it, because you could have probably trimmed some of the more brutal scenes from Justice League Dark, keep it concise, and it would have been at least a little more well-liked, and you still would have gotten the essence of, oh yeah, Darkseid's fucking scary, dudes. You didn't have to do that madness.
Like, I think something that this kind of reminds me of, and I can't believe I'm about to defend this sort of practice, but, like, I hated it when movies would cut themselves into 2 parts, but, like, if you have that much to tell, then maybe cutting your movie into 2 parts is the way to go.
Or turn it into a mini-series.
Far more preferable,
Like-
definitely,
like,
to cut
again,
it into like a series.
Like, again, to go back to Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is over 4 hours long. Again, I don't ever want to crap on a director's vision at all, and I understand that. But you were releasing Zack Snyder's Justice League during a global pandemic on a streaming service. Why not turn it into a mini-series? That way you could have kept the original 6-hour length. Oh my god, by the way.
yeah,
keep the
like,
original
screw the
6-hour
editors,
length.
apparently.
Right? Keep the original 6-hour length. Cut it into pieces and then turn it into a mini-series. And then I think people would, this wouldn't be a talking point, or at least we wouldn't be bagging on Zack Snyder for it. But also at the same time, don't make the movies too short, for the love of God. This is gonna come to something a little bit personal, but The Land Before Time. This is gonna be a weird example, but The Land Before Time is 69 minutes long. Nice. But it lost about 10 minutes of the movie, partially due to the fact that they overclocked the movie, and like child psychologists were like, this was too much. But also, to cut some of those scenes in the movie, it messed with the continuity. And some old, you can find old tie-in books that reference scenes in the movie that were cut that would have been really poignant, which I'll talk about later. And there's old storyboards for scenes that were ready to go, but they were just cut due to time, because I guess an 80-minute animated movie was too long, when The Lion King was almost 90? Whatever. But there's definitely an argument that you could make a movie too short, because it's like, well, you just scrunched an entire story into, like, a sound bite, right? Like, can you think of any examples of a movie that, you know, for a point of fairness, that was too short?
Not really, because like I said, the DC animated movies, they're all like, what, an hour 10 on average?
Yeah, I want to say,
and
like...
those are pretty great for me.
Yeah,
those are pretty great for me, because they wrap up their story nicely, actually. They begin, they continue, and then they end, and it's like, alright, thank you for coming, go watch the next one whenever it comes out.
And it makes sense because, like, not only are they straight to DVD, meaning that they don't have to meet, like, a theatrical runtime, animation is, like, difficult and expensive. So, like, obviously you don't want to go too overboard with length because that would require a lot more work and money. Like, I think the DC animated movies are the perfect length for the stories they want to tell for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of, like, some of these movies are even self-contained. So, like, it's not like you can just enjoy the story and then you won't have to worry about it being continued on.
Like, Assault on Arkham did that, and it's like, you know, you can watch Assault on Arkham and then just, like, walk away at the end of it and be like, yeah, that was a good time.
I kind of wish that they would have that the Arkham games would have tied into it later on, though, because, just for the record, I think it would be really kind of cool if, in, say, Arkham Knight, for instance, we got a Killer Frost boss fight, because...
Oh, that would have been dope.
Because Killer Frost in that movie was a joy to just see. You know, the moment where she
to Jenny Hale.
Yeah, well, of course.
I love the voice, love the design. I'd love to see this specific look for Killer Frost come back, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, maybe when we get into the whole comics thing. And hey, that reminds me, we've got a whole bunch of new comic friends that we can invite into this whole shindig too. But
nice.
But I think that just about covers it. Like, overall, we have less of a problem with... I think one other thing, too, is that we have less of an issue with shorter movies because they're shorter. You know what I mean? Like, because they're shorter, we don't have to spend as much time. And I mean this in a general sense. That we don't have to spend as much time. And I mean, sure, you could... I could argue you could make a movie too short. I mean, could you imagine if they boiled... off the top of my head, could you imagine if they boiled Batman Under the Red Hood to half an hour?
That could not work.
Yeah, no, but like 75 minutes is like right in the butter zone. It's not 2 hours of like whatever. I'm a little sad that they kind of cut out the Superman bit from the comics, but the Under the Red Hood story is a lot. So you can understandably trim a lot of it and still kind of... Because when you adapt a book to a movie, you have to trim out some of the filler in order to keep it concise. Because, look at the Harry Potter movies, right? For how long they are, imagine what didn't make it into the fucking movie. Because it's like, well, we can't have... Well, we have to cut some of this detail, otherwise we're going to end up with 6-hour movies left, right, and center. When some movies want to be 6 hours, it's like, ugh.
It's like, why even bother having an editor if you're gonna have like a movie that long?
Yeah, like you're at that point, as somebody who edits, and a lot of the time for me the editing is just this, but just because I don't want to have people miss out. Again, that's why my Premier Skin rant is 45 minutes long, mostly because I don't... Well, partially because I don't have a script, and partially because I didn't do a whole lot of editing. I just cut out long spaces and a really bad sneeze. But the point is that even with me being a fairly lax editor when it comes to, I'm generally just cutting and adding a logo and not doing too much else. I'm still making the conscious effort to cut things that, I'm pretty sure nobody wants to hear me sneeze my lungs out, so I have to cut that. So I opted to cut that out, even though, I left it in there for part of it in there for a gag. But at the same time, when you have at that point, it's like you're hardly asking for an editor. You're asking for a guy to smush things together. You could get a grad student to do that for free. But yeah. Anyhow, so I think that covers length, unless there's anything you guys want to throw in on that debate.
No, we pretty much covered
Oh,
it.
I think everyone here had really, really good points.
Yeah. Sweet then. Let's move on to point number 2. All right, this is gonna be a fun one.
Yes.
So this is we could talk licensed movies out the wazoo all day we want. I mean, Space Jam 2 just released a trailer, and it's teasing the Warnerverse. Like I shit you not, they're pulling a Ready Player One where like the Iron Giant and Superman and Bugs Bunny are on the same basketball team with LeBron James. And I mean, hey, I love the idea of the zany ridiculousness of it all, but I don't want any particular media to be overly reliant on licenses. So,
oh, for sure.
So my question to you guys is, what is one movie idea that is not strictly a license do you want to see made? If that makes any sense. Like it doesn't have to be. It could be a license, but it doesn't have to be. Like, what is one non-licensed movie concept you want to see out there? Go.
Who would like to go first?
I can go first. Well, I mean, I am incapable of thinking outside of licenses, to be honest.
Well, a good way to look at it is, why don't we take a look at, like, if you take a look at a license, this is what my film teacher used to do. You look at a license, you boil it down to its most basic concepts, then you can build your own concept off of the scaffolding of that. That's what we did for our student films, right? Like, I did a student film knockoff of an Alfred Hitchcock movie called Vertigo.
Nice.
And for those not in the know, it's mostly about this guy chasing a spy up a tower, and the guy who's chasing the spy up the tower has vertigo, hence the name, where if you look down a dizzy height, you get all dizzy and you potentially fall to your death. And we turned it into a story about some cops who capture a master thief. The master thief escapes, and the last living cop has to go after the master thief. We took a 70-minute long movie and turned it into a 6-minute student film where the cop, quote unquote, fell to my death. The behind the scenes are hilarious because I'm like laying on my side in an office chair, being pushed along towards a green screen with a broom. Look, man, when you have when you have zero budget, you have to get creative. But that's a whole thing.
No, I did film studies. This is bring back a lot of memories for me. We did film noir.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Oh man.
So
like I said, yeah, it's like I watch a lot of good fucking non-licensed movies, but when it comes to like me coming up with ideas myself, I just kind of draw a blank.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And it's hard.
I don't know.
It's hard because like not to be mean to licenses, but licenses are kind of like they're quote easy. You just have to pay some money and then you can own the licenses and then you can do what you want with the licenses, right? But the key is to make the licenses feel fresh with a licensed film. And it's easier to have a fresh concept be fresh than a licensed concept be fresh. I mean, how many times do we have to watch Mama and Dada Wayne get shot in an alleyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, like try this one, Manny. If a licensed, like, think about a license and what that concept is, and then what would you do with that concept instead? Like, maybe with Harry Potter, a school for mages, and maybe what would you do with that instead? You know what I mean?
No, because like, all right, so thinking that way, two things come to mind. I'm big on sci-fi. I'd love to do like a hard sci-fi adventure, cyberpunk sci-fi adventure. That would be cool.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like I don't want to say Star Wars, because I'm thinking a little different to Star Wars, but at the same time, Star Wars kind of works as a catch-all, like a ragtag band of adventurers going through space.
A tale as old as time. The literally David versus Goliath type stories. You know what I mean? Like,
but then also I got okay, so actually, no, I give up. I'm gonna pull out a license.
Well, that's okay. That's okay because really, no idea is truly original.
Yeah, everything is a copy of a copy of a copy.
Exactly.
It just depends on what you do with it and how you make it different from the others.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, yeah, sure, no idea is really fully 100% unique or original, but it depends on what you do with it to change it up.
Yeah.
But, like,
I think that's what I was trying to get at. Like, even with a licensed movie, what would you do that's different? I guess.
I've been thinking about this one for a while. Oh man, because I think it'd be so good. I would take Lady Blackhawk and like give her a movie with like the other Blackhawks and in the style of a mashup of the Expendables and like Captain America: First Avenger with all that like World War II propaganda vibe.
Ooh, yeah. See, like that's still an original concept because I mean, even as far as like comic book characters go, how many people know about Lady Blackhawk?
Yeah, there's like I have so many ideas for so many like forgotten and characters, like
imagine if there was a cameo with I can't remember his name, but him and the Creature Commandos. You know what I'm talking about? They Sergeant something or other. He had a DC animated short not that long ago.
Oh, I was just looking at that. Is it Sergeant Rock?
Yes, Sergeant Rock and his Creature Commandos. I forgot.
Oh man, I think we should give Jonah Hex another fair shake as well.
That'd be very nice.
Yes, please. Yeah, again, Jonah Hex is another one of those DC characters that, who the fuck knows Jonah Hex except for that weird movie with what was it,
Josh
Megan
Brolin
Fox?
and Megan Fox.
Yeah, and this cowboy that could raise the dead, which is something that Jonah Hex.
He doesn't do that in the comics, but I think it was a fun kind of retcon / creative liberty.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you could do with said creative liberty, right? But I like the idea of a Lady Blackhawk idea. I have one non-licensed idea that that's been rattling around in my brain for a little while now. But it's this idea of how best do I describe this? Yeah, I think I got it. So a lot of people have played with the idea of mythical creatures in real life. Like if we go to Harry Potter, you have elves that do your laundry, and you make invisible cloaks out of creatures that have magical fur, that kind of thing. But how cool would it be if, as a concept, picture this, okay? It's 1944. It's D-Day, okay? All the soldiers are getting ready to storm the beach, right? But some of the soldiers ride in on centaurs. And up at the gunner towers, you have angels and other mythological beings working with the Nazis, and then you have other mythological beings working with the Allies, and then you could kind of expand on that. Like, again, the Centaur Cavalry off the top of my head. You have operating handheld machine guns in World War II, if you will, Minotaurs, and then attack manticores and that kind of thing. So like a World War II epic with mythical beings is kind of the idea that I was going with.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be super
And
interesting.
in hindsight, I think I may have been subconsciously inspired by the Creature Commandos, but I want to take that a step further because the Creature Commandos is a Frankenstein's monster, a werewolf, and a vampire. Pretty cool, but why not take it a step further? Why not have like a couple who are soldiers, and one of them is a normal human, and the other is a centaur, just as an example, right? And then you can play with that concept for days. Okay, well, how about in Vietnam you have Tokolosh and goblins helping the Viet Cong, or any like, you know what I mean? The idea of
Yeah.
like that would probably be mine. Would be a World War II epic, but with mythical creatures.
I think taking any historical event and giving it like a fantasy twist could be very, very fun and interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very alluring concept. I had a second one, but it's a little less original. It's because there's actually a book on this whole thing called Dragons of China, but it's a Jurassic Park style thing, but instead of dinosaurs, it's dragons. But there's a book on that already, so
Cool concept.
Yeah, for sure.
indeed. So it's one that I really like. But what about you, Mono? You got anything?
I do. I want to preface this by saying that the horror genre has been incredibly disappointing for me for like the past 5 years. It feels like we're following the same trends of very cheap, very like jump scare heavy, very like movies that are very much trying to date themselves, I guess, if that makes sense, like using technology as like a main point of the movie, like the one movie where it's the app that tells you when you're going to die, just stuff like that. I want to see something that could be a little bit more timeless and also merge it with a medium that I do not think gets enough credit with adult audiences. I want to see a mainstream, a theatrical, animated adult horror movie.
Ooh.
Oh, to your lost death, then.
Because I think if something like Coraline can be unsettling to even adults, I think
Which
there
it
is
is.
a market
Oh,
to
I'm
making...
fucking good.
I think there is a market to make an adult animated horror movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially when adult animated movies don't get the greatest rep, because usually people think, especially theatrical ones, because people will think of Sausage Party and they'll think, oh, adult animated means it's going to be super crass and super vulgar and all this stuff.
Because that's an intentional choice, because, you know, animation is seen as a kid's medium, so they have to go hard. But I mean, it's part of the reason why Fritz the Cat was a thing. Dating my references here, but to the nth degree, but yeah, like it's part of the reason why Fritz the Cat was as bonkers as it was as an animated concept, was because it was the first X-rated animated movie, so they went all out. Like, it is like to the degree that it's like, man, I don't even think South Park would go as far as these guys have gone, and we know how far South Park tends to go, but a, for lack of a better word, tasteful adult animated horror movie sounds like a fantastic idea. Especially because with animation, fuck the limits of reality. Screw that. Like imagine if we were to take this to a licensed example. Let's say Freddy Krueger got one of these movies. Imagine how bonkers the dream sequences could get now that you're not like shackled by reality.
You don't have to rely on CGI for it, because you can just animate it, and it might even be more timeless, because CG be dated. Like a movie that came out like a decade ago, like something we thought looked super amazing back then, is going to be dated like a decade later.
Unless,
like in a few years,
yeah.
in a few years, I'm going to look at Guardians of the Galaxy and be like, wow, this didn't age the greatest compared to what we have now.
Exactly. And
I
mean, unless you sold your soul to the devil for whatever the hell they did with Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Granted,
Oh, that was
Granted,
all
granted
animatronics.
I was gonna say, granted, the original Jurassic Park had so many animatronics but the Gallimimus running scene still looked really good, even though that was all animatronic dinosaur or all CGI dinosaurs. It still looked like you can find movies now that have crappier CGI than this movie that came out almost 30 years ago.
God, I had some points. I had some points and I forgot them.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, it's cool. I remembered a couple of them. So, like, as far as adult animated horror movies go, I would just throw out To Your Lost Death. That's a very good adult, animated horror movie. It's got Morena, who played Vanessa in Deadpool, and it's so good.
What was it called?
To Your Lost Death. It's about this family reunion.
Oh. Oh wow!
So,
okay, I just pulled up some screenshots and this is animated like an amateur visual novel kind of, and I kind of dig it.
Yeah, a little like
What's
that.
so interesting?
It's very it reminds me a lot of Queen of Plagues, the Red Sonja movie that was like the motion comic.
Oh yeah. Or like the Black Panther BET television series, if you remember that.
Oh. And but To Your Lost Death is about this dad who pulls all his children together because he's dying, and they all get trapped in the building, and they're basically played with by these cosmic deities. It's so good. It's very,
that's another one too. Cosmic deitic horror. I don't think cosmic eldritch horror is not something they've done a whole lot of, like Cthulhu type stuff.
Yeah, and my second point was about dated CGI and how people should explore new ways for animation to look. This is an animated movie. This is a live action with CGI, but The Mask is so good with its animation and
you know what helps with that? It doesn't take itself seriously, because The Mask is a cartoonish entity. It's a hell of a lot darker in the comics than it is in the movie, but it's still a cartoonish entity. So that way, even if the CGI looks bad, that adds to the charm because it's a walking cartoon.
Yeah, it can look terrible, and that's okay, because it was 90 whatever.
I mean, hey, at least it isn't Son of the Mask. That could work as its own for literally any demographic.
Yeah, 94.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 94. CGI not the best in 94, but
doesn't need to be.
It still works.
Yeah, because it
works.
Because it doesn't need to be lifelike. It doesn't have to shoot to be lifelike, because it's again a big cartoon thing for 25 years old.
Also, I am still not entirely convinced Jim Carrey is not made of Play-Doh. That dude fucking...
come on!
Those things with his face. It's weird.
Whenever there's a quirky, weird almost real life cartoon-esque character, Jim Carrey will just manifest into the room to take that role.
I still need to watch the Sonic movie.
Me too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was thinking about a series of unfortunate events in the movie from a couple days ago.
That's
when he was Lemony
Snicket of all time.
And even though it's not
No, he was Count Olaf. Jude Law was Lemony Snicket.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because even though it's not an amazing adaptation of the books, and I don't fully like the portrayal of Count Olaf, I still think Jim Carrey just nails the role.
Well,
yeah, Jim Carrey did a great job.
In my mind, if you need the kind of individual that can just stand on camera, be an absolute lunatic for however long you need him to be, there are two examples that come immediately to my mind: Jim Carrey and Nicolas Cage.
Oh my god,
oh
yes.
yeah, for sure.
Right? So
If you watch Mandy, you get to watch Nick Cage just go off the rails.
yeah, and leading it back to the horror thing, because I feel like when it comes to movie genres, horror is like the redheaded stepchild of everything. Because I mean, think about it. Action movies get this AAA credit and all of these unique concepts and twists. With superheroes and regular guys and whatnot. You have romantic comedies that have played every romantic trope from here to the next universe. But horror gets pigeonholed into like one of three different things. It's like teenage horror, gore fests, or just homages to true horror classics in a bad way. And there's so much you could do with horror, because horror is just as flexible of a topic that you could get into as any other. Like, again, cosmic horror, which is going to be...
That's like...
Right? Like,
that is honestly the big thing I was thinking of, is like you can definitely go into more cosmic horror elements, because like I don't want like an animated gore fest. Like I'm still very interested in checking out To Your Last Death, because that does look like very stylized and interesting for sure.
It is very it is absolutely a gore fest, but it's so
but
the concept of it.
Yeah, it plays with that gore fest thing. Like off the top of my head, if we're going old school, because it seems like horror died in the late 90s, but in its golden years, Hellraiser immediately comes to mind when I saw To Your Last Death.
Yeah.
Like that's what immediately came to my mind. Like Hellraiser and the Cenobites.
One of the few horror movies to actually make me straight up nauseous watching it.
Yeah, because that's a messed up movie series. And then The Wishmaster was really cool. If you've not seen The Wishmaster, it's the horror baddie, the Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees of the movie, is an evil genie.
Ooh.
And he grants wishes, but those wishes end up, killing the person in some horrible way. And the actor who they got him, he plays like he just plays him super crazy. And there's a scene in the movie where, to cement the point that the genie's not to be messed with, he gives the main character a free wish to demonstrate that he's serious. And the character says, "I want you to shoot yourself." The genie shoots himself, and then immediately heals, and then delivers the line, "That which is eternal cannot die, but if it's any consolation, sweet Alex, that hurts like hell." And I'm not that far off on the delivery, I promise. But Wishmaster was cool because the bad guy was a genie. Think of all the things you could do with an evil genie. I mean, they ended up making 4 movies out of the concept, for crying out loud. So,
Like, it's why it's perfect, because you can explore so much that live action kind of struggles to cover. Like, there's so much ground you can do with an animated horror movie for adults. And
religious horror is one that immediately comes to my mind. Like, imagine a horror movie where biblical angels are the bad guys.
Oh yeah, like you can totally do something like that and get away with it, because like that would be a CG nightmare to have to like. Then again, I think it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, Doom Eternal, perfect example of exactly that, right? Sorry, but yeah, I'm like, because we could explore the horror possibilities for days, because it feels like, pardon the pun, horror has a really shallow grave that nobody's like digging deep for the possibilities, because for horror movies, what do we need for horror movies? Bad acting, boobs, violence, and jump scares. Done. There we go. And we can cut. We can cut out boobs if it's for PG-13. That's fine. But you know what I mean? Like it feels like they're trapped in that trope, and it's like, why not try something new? Which is why the first Paranormal Activity was great. It was because it was a ghost story that had its own unique hook.
I appreciate any horror movie that plays less on gore and violence and more on just being unsettling and playing with tension and like
Yeah,
just
exactly.
the expectations. It's just I could go on for like a while on that. I'm like,
Exactly.
what I'd love to see out of horror.
Totally. All right. Next, since I think we kind of got those ideas out of the way, the next up is the complete opposite of this. What is your favorite licensed movie? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Like comic book movies and
comic book movies, movies
yeah.
based off of books.
books. Yeah. I mean, Mono can go first because I went last time. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So I only listed a couple. It's honestly a tie between Logan, the Spider-Verse movie, and Hellboy 2.
Yeah. Oh, Hellboy 2
still
specifically.
So I haven't seen Hellboy 2.
Because, like,
You need to.
I definitely love Hellboy 1, don't get me wrong, but like
Hellboy 1 was great. I love it.
I think the second movie delved into like the weirder aspects of like the Hellboy comics a bit more, and I think that's why I liked it a bit more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that totally makes sense because like Hellboy as a comic book movie, I don't think was gonna get made if they didn't make it a little more quote grounded. And then when it was greenlit for a sequel, Guillermo del Toro was allowed a little longer slack on the leash. You know what I mean? Because if you know Del Toro and his movies. And his original concepts, like Pacific Rim, even was bonkers for a monster versus robot movie.
And then Spider-Verse could go without saying. Like, I have not met a single person who
That
doesn't
could
like
be
that
a
movie.
whole podcast on its own.
Oh,
Honestly.
yeah. Like, I genuinely think that as far as superhero movies go, Into the Spider-Verse is the best superhero movie of all time. Not just even the best superhero movie of all time. Like, that's obvious, right? But I would say in terms of, like, the best movie in the last, let's be bold, let's say in the last 50 years, I genuinely think Into the Spider-Verse has a shout for being in the top 5 best movies of the last half century. I'm calling it.
Honestly. Like, it was one of my favorite theater experiences, too. Just sitting through that movie and getting to watch it live, like, in a theater. Like, it's an experience I'll never forget.
I'm genuinely concerned about the sequel, because, I mean, there's no way that the sequel is going to be able to match that level of oh my god, unfortunately. So, that genuinely has me a touch nervous, but hope for the best, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna hope that if it's the same people working on it, then there's a good chance it's still gonna be decent no matter what.
Oh yeah, like I have no doubt that it's still gonna be good. I'm just worried that because you're going from Into the Spider-Verse, even if it comes down a couple of pegs, which would still make it like a 9 out of 10 movie, Into the Spider-Verse 2 is gonna get slammed by people like, it's not as good as the original Spider-Verse. Of course it's not! You know what I mean?
That's why you can't set your expectations too high with certain things. And this is, like, I don't want to sound cynical when I say it, but like I feel like Spider-Verse 2 is definitely one of those situations where I don't want to get my hopes too high.
Yeah, it's like it's like with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like nobody was expecting the first Guardians of the Galaxy to be good, and then it ended up being pretty good. So it's like, whoa, this is an amazing movie, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is seen as, oh, well, this is pretty good. But that's because, instead of being amazing, because, Guardians of the Galaxy worked before. So.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's ironic because 2 of my favorite licensed movies are sequels that are, in my opinion, blew it out of the water the second time around.
Which it can be done, yeah.
Yeah. And there was, Raimi Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve.
Wait, that was the one with Zod, right?
Yeah, that was one with Zod and Ursa and Non.
Nice.
Yeah. That one kicked ass.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel you big time on that one. It's funny, though, because this is a bit of a hot take here. I'm actually not the biggest fan of the Raimi Spider-Man movies. And my favorite...
A lot of people aren't, and I don't get it.
Well, no. Let me preface this by saying that those movies are not bad. They're good.
No,
but
that's cool.
you would not believe what my favorite live-action Spider-Man is.
What?
The first Amazing Spider-Man.
I was honestly just about to say, like, as long as it isn't
Andrew Garfield
Amazing
was
Spider-Man
good.
2.
I don't know why people hate on him.
Yeah,
Garfield was
I
great.
saw it for the first time not that long ago, and, like, Andrew Garfield is a fucking amazing Spider-Man. Pun not intended.
So good.
Right? Like, and okay, sure, the lizard looks goofy a little bit in the face, but he's the fucking lizard!
I'm not taking him super seriously anyway.
Exactly, like, genuinely speaking, like obviously the movie tried to be a little more serious, and
yeah,
but it played its no, here's the thing, in my opinion, it played the serious angles, in my opinion, kind of smart. Like, I for one felt the death of Uncle Ben in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was a little too quick, but we actually get some time with Uncle Ben. We marinate with Uncle Ben in the Amazing Spider-Man, and when he dies in the second act, it hits harder. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like that's just one example of why I think personally, the first Amazing Spider-Man is probably the best live-action Spider-Man. Now, my favorite adaptation of Spider-Man of all time, like Peter Parker, not Miles Morales, is Spider-Man PS4. Is still
absolutely.
To me the quintessential Peter Parker story. But
Makes me wish I had a PS4.
Fucking good.
Hey, hashtag shameless plug. I have the whole series on my channel. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like that game is amazing. And of course, to go to Miles Morales, I've played through Miles Morales the Miles Morales Spider-Man because it's on PS4, and I've seen Into the Spider-Verse. I'd say Into the Spider-Verse was a better overall story than Miles Morales, but the Miles Morales game was still fantastic. You know what I mean? It's like a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10.
I didn't super vibe with Miles, but they're both like great games.
Yeah,
that I absolutely recommend to any like person breaking into Spider multiverse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. but like if you want to break into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a great way to do it.
For sure.
And that's why that's my favorite licensed movie. And I want to preface this by saying, when I say licensed movie, I mean it wasn't a movie first. You know what I mean? Like Jurassic Park was a novel first, so it's a licensed movie. And I fucking adore the Jurassic Park series. Like, all 5 movies, in my opinion, are at least decent. Except for Jurassic Park 3, it's not that great. But even then, they managed to kind of, like, work in some of the lore from JP3 in order to make it kind of neat. Into the Spider-Verse, great example. That's a license. But, like, I can't say, for instance, that The Predator is my favorite licensed movie, because The Predator was a movie first. It was a movie before it was anything else. So I can't be... Or same with Godzilla. Godzilla was a movie first. So I can't say Godzilla's my favorite licensed movie, because it became a license as a movie. It wasn't a license that became a movie. So that's why, for me, if I had to pick my favorite licensed movie, I have to go with the first Jurassic Park. I have to. It's like it's got everything I could ever want. Dinosaurs, horror elements, with dinosaurs again, and it's a nice, concise story, and it is a true marvel of cinematography. Like, I can watch behind the scenes stuff for Jurassic Park for hours, just picking apart all the neat tricks that they did, all the little bugs that they forgot. Like, there's a lighting set that kind of made it into the movie that wasn't supposed to. And all of this stuff. So that's why I think, for me, my favorite licensed movie is still Jurassic Park. As much as I like Into the Spider-Verse for sure, and I think Into the Spider-Verse is a better movie, I just can't. It's a hard thing to pry away from me that I love Jurassic Park and have ever since I was a kid.
Like, this is, like, choosing a favorite licensed movie is honestly extremely hard for me because I have so many options. Like, I do want to bring up Logan again real quick because talking about
good. Because it's fucking good.
it's extremely good. Not only
And
is
it's
it my favorite
different.
portrayal, it's extremely different. That's what I love about it. It doesn't feel like a superhero movie. It's a Western, which is like not a genre I would typically sit down and watch. But then you take these characters and you apply them to that genre, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. And not only is it like a super emotional story to sit through, it's what fans of Wolverine have been wanting for a while. Like they want to see Logan killing people, and he gets to do that. But there's also a very like emotional core to the movie, and it's I could talk about this movie so much. Like I watched it in theaters with my mom back in the day, and leaving that theater that night, it was just very emotional.
Oh yeah.
Because like.
Because
Like I view it as like a send off to the Fox the Fox X-Men movies because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think they put out us like another good X-Men movie in quite a while.
yeah, since even if you were to throw Deadpool into the mix, which I think Deadpool 2 came out before or just after Logan, they were being made around the same time. I remember that. But
Yeah.
but that's one thing I also like really like is when you take what's the stereotypical superhero movie? Big bombastic action and a lot of jokes, right? You turn it into a super serious character piece almost. It's why I think Logan is to superhero movies what All-Star Superman is to comic books. It's a send-off to an iconic character done in a way that is done to elicit feels in a good way, which is why I am still hoping, waiting, begging, pleading for for its credit, the animated All-Star Superman movie is really good, but I'm waiting for a live-action version of that goes the distance. Because, spoiler alert for those who have not seen the All-Star Superman animated movie, Reagan isn't in it. And for those who have even had a passing interest in the story, Reagan is the Reagan sequence of the book is the most iconic part of that whole story. I don't even have to recap it. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say Reagan was Superman, right?
Unfortunately, I do not, but
Vaguely.
it sounds interesting.
Okay.
Vaguely.
Okay. Right. So I'll give you guys the context necessary. So Superman is... So as you know, for All-Star Superman, Superman is dying. He absorbed too much solar energy, and he's going to eventually basically explode. So he decides to do all of the good deeds that he needs to do. He wants to set things up for success in the future and before he dies, as a good hero tends to do. And he still, keep in mind, he is dying, has time that after he saves a train from being derailed, there's a shot inside where a doctor is talking to somebody, and they're saying, Reagan, don't. You've got, I got held up in traffic, which he did. He almost died in a train accident, right? And Superman saved him. And as Superman is going off, it's implied his super hearing picked up the conversation. And then we cut to this teenage, stereotypically emo-dressed girl standing on a 20-story ledge.
Oh.
Yeah. Her name is Reagan.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, her name is Reagan. So now that I brought it up, now you guys remember, right? It was probably the name that threw you for a loop. But yeah, her name was Reagan. She drops her phone and she's going to jump, and then Superman saves her without having to even touch her. With the immortal line, "You're stronger than you know. Remember that." Basically, I think I paraphrased it a little bit, but that moment right there, and then there's another sequence where he sits there and waits and like goes for hours with a suicide person. This is a separate comic, but it's the same basic thing. That's a powerful fucking scene.
For sure.
Right? And imagine something like that, super emotional, in a live-action Superman movie.
God, please.
Yeah!
Like,
Like Man of Steel 2, if you could pull that off, I will have all of the respect for the DCEU.
because like,
I don't trust Snyder to do that. I don't think he has the emotional depth.
yeah,
I'm sorry to the Snyder fans, but I'm coming out swinging.
yeah, I don't blame you. I think in this day and age where there's a lot of like more cynically toned superhero stuff,
Yeah.
like, no offense to people who like it, but stuff like The Boys and Invincible that really only give like very cynical, satirical views on like Superman, for example, I want to see Superman do stuff like that again.
Oh, yeah. Like remind people why people have the parody in the first place of superheroes being so good is because genuinely they are good. Sometimes you have to make fun of them for going too far, like taking time out of the day to save cats from trees, but, you know, like, what does the power of good entail? It entails all things, from small deeds like putting garbage in a garbage can to saving somebody who's about to jump from a building. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
And I think Invincible kind of does that a little better because it, at least to me as an outside viewer, it at least has a genuinely good person who's trying to be a genuinely good person with his powers. He's 17 and doing his best, but, you know. But at the same time, this is a franchise that has crossed over with Spawn. So, yeah. Like there's a time and a place for superhero deep cuts and psychological analytics of a Bruce Wayne or an Al Simmons or whatever, but you can't have that without having the kind of hero stories that, you know, they're heroes because they want to be heroes. There isn't an ulterior motive or anything. Brightburn.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that one up too. Like, I think that one was like the superhero satire film that kind of pissed me off the most.
Was Brightburn?
Yeah, just this whole idea of like, oh, what if Superman was just evil from the start with no factors playing into it? It just feels very generic to me.
I do get, but what I like is that even though that is a very generic concept of turning Superman evil, they tried something kind of neat with the analogies to parasitic worms and parasitic wasps and whatnot. But, you know, there's only so many times that you can do evil Superman and try to make it interesting. Brightburn was kind of like my limit for that, because Injustice sure as shit didn't do it originally, because to me, Injustice and Arkham are extensions of the DCAU allowed to be more mature. Because who remembers the Justice Lord arc?
I do
Cannot
not.
say it's familiar.
Basically, what happens is that in the universe of the Justice Lords, Lex Luthor kills the Flash, and at that point, the gloves are off. Superman kills Lex Luthor, takes over the world with the Justice League, and everybody's on board. And I mean everybody. Batman does not deviate from that. He is one of the Justice Lords alongside Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and all of them. Which for a kid's show, that's like, whoa. And then you have this multiversal fight between the original universe and the Justice Lords, and that leaves a ripple effect in the main universe that lasts for like 2 or 3 seasons. Cadmus becomes a thing as a countermeasure to Superman because Superman might snap. It gets to the point where the Flash unleashes all of his potential, disappears into the Speed Force, and Superman genuinely almost kills Lex Luthor in the main universe. But he doesn't. Superman says, "I'm not the man who killed President Luthor. Right now, I wish to heaven that I were, but I'm not." That, right? That kind of like...
It's good, right?
Yeah, to me, like, Superman can almost go there, but he has to be pulled back. And what Injustice did was they basically took that idea and said, yeah, no, we're gonna go the distance again. And they tried to, and at least they had like the 5-year story of him getting pulled down further, but it just does not work. And then and Arkham is Batman the Animated Series, but more mature. And then they take it in their own paths and elsewhere. But they did that. But they did that right because it's still Batman, no matter how brutal he gets in Arkham Knight. But But like that's the thing with if you want to have your grimdark stories, you need your darker stories to have a light to become that shadow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if everything is dark, you're not going to see anything. But that's
Now that works on 2 levels.
yeah, that's what I'm talking.
Snyder's saturation.
Yeah.
Lack thereof.
Oh, jeez. Or 2014 Godzilla, which I'm really glad that the remaster is like, you know what? We're going to have to turn off the lights because, you know, Godzilla, it's weird enough that they take almost an hour to show Godzilla, but then you can hardly see the guy. Because the entire fight scene takes place at night for some reason. But that's...
Maybe they just wanted to mask the CG. Maybe they just weren't confident enough that Godzilla looked good.
Yeah, and that's why Suitmation is a serious medium. Anyway, on to the next thing. What was the first movie you've ever seen, and was it good or was it bad? Like, it could be like from good to bad or whatever, but what was that? For me, my very first movie was, I mentioned it before, The Land Before Time, which, you know, I saw it when I was a small child. And I have seen, for the record, I have not seen every Land Before Time movie since, but I have seen up to 10. I have seen all the Land Before Time movies up to number 10, and then I kind of stopped. And for me, still to this day, the first Land Before Time is the best one, because it wasn't overly kid-friendly. It had a parent die on screen, for crying out loud. It had a parent die on screen, and it was dealing with guilt and all that, but they still added the kid whimsy to it, so even as a 24-year-old man, I could watch The Land Before Time and get enjoyment out of it. I can't enjoy movies 2 through fucking 14 because they turned them into overly kid-friendly musicals. No, I'm not kidding. There's 14 Land Before Time movies and a TV show that ironically only lasted a season, so there's 15 episodes. So you have 15 episodes. Like, what?
Oh
I watched all the Friday the 13th movies, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I own, like, almost every single Nightmare on Elm Street, so I get that.
Yeah. Anyhow.
I don't remember my first movie, but definitely the one that stands out was I owned The Incredibles on DVD, and I watched that religiously. And it's still good because, you know, it's like it's you know, it's got the Land Before Time thing where it's like it's approachable to adults and kids, because I'm a kid and I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, cool, superhero media, good. But then I watched it as a kid and I'm like, there's a lot of insurance talk in this that I didn't get.
I was actually talking about The Incredibles a little bit ago with some friends. We were talking about how, like, the movie covers so much adult topics without, like, not an adult as in, like, inappropriate for kids sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it talks about midlife crises. It talks about just, like, marriage and, like, relationship issues and all that kind of stuff.
Like, a midlife crisis is kind of the kick-off point for the movie. Like, how many kids' movies do you know of that the main, like, driving point of the plot is the main characters in a midlife crisis?
Like, it's just so funny. It's just so cool that, like, Incredibles managed to do that. Anyway, continue.
Also, like, no, I just gotta take a moment to appreciate my man Wallace Shawn as Gilbert Huff. Oh, he's so good.
Wait, hold on. Who is Wallace Shawn? He was a Cinder?
Wallace Shawn was in The Princess Bride. He played.
That's yeah. That's his most iconic role. You know.
Yeah, the guy. I don't remember his name, but he's very Riddler-esque, so I just call him Princess Bride Riddler.
No, that's fair. I call him the inconceivable guy because that's the line I remember the most for her. Right, and
keep on using this word. Do nothing.
Yeah, because he's brilliant.
Yeah, Wallace Shawn as Gilbert Huff. Oh man.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what about you, Mona? What was the first movie that you remember that, and was it good or was it bad? That's the key thing, because you hear like movies where like you enjoyed them as a kid, but then you go back to them later and it's like, man, this movie was genuine awfulness.
So I can't exactly remember the first movie I've ever seen, but I do remember my mom specifically telling me one of the first, like, earliest movies that I was incredibly obsessed with as a child, and that was Cinderella.
The original Cinderella?
Yeah, the original Cinderella. She mentioned that I would watch it so much as a little kid that the tape actually got ruined at one point, so she had to go buy another one. And I don't fully remember this, but it makes so much sense. And I have not watched Cinderella in so long, but I do have the feeling that if I go back, like, excusing like the 30s, 40s animation,
1950s.
I'm sure 50s. Oh wow. Because I remember, I think it was Snow White that was in the 30s.
Yeah. Cinderella or Snow White is older than Superman. Her movie came out in 1937.
Jeez. There was a lot about that movie that I'm sure I really liked. Like the music, the visuals, the dancing mice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the biggest Disney person, like, at least specifically with, like, the Disney princesses, but I do remember really enjoying Cinderella as a child. Like, later on, rewatching it and being like, oh yeah, it's really good. I just don't remember watching the tape over and over and over again when I was, like, super little.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So the movie released February 15th, 1950 in Boston, probably for some film festival thing. And then it had a continental U.S. release of March 4th in the same year. So Cinderella, the animated movie, is 71 years old.
Wow.
How's that for age? But yeah, and it's cool that like we have all of these different like animated movies that have like the core. I think this formulated ourselves as adults is that the animated movies we saw weren't strictly targeted towards kids necessarily, because as Matty pointed out with The Incredibles, you have midlife crises, marital relationships, and a fairly complicated villain, because the villain used to be a hero wannabe, and then he got turned to the dark side, right? That's a pretty morally complex character for a Disney villain, you know, or I guess for a Pixar villain.
Also, Jason Leah's syndrome. Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah,
That's very good.
And then I Got the Land Before Time, that has a mother die and get assaulted by a big apex predator right at the beginning, and then the kids drown the main villain at the end of the movie. When you think about it, The Land Before Time is a fucking dark movie.
Meanwhile, there's me with Cinderella, and it's just like a cute little musical of dancing mice.
And even then, Cinderella has some more serious elements to it, because Cinderella's an outcast story.
Yeah. Victim of a child abuse.
Yeah, family abuse, arguably, but
yeah.
I just thought of I'm gonna lump this under do not watch. I'm gonna lump this in under our last topic, but I just remembered an animated movie that, it is like, it's not that it's bad, it's whoa. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. So, I believe Mono suggested this next topic. Comfort movies. Those movies that you can pop in, sit back, if you're just having a terrible day, week, month, whatever, sit back, relax, and at least get some semblance of everything's gonna be okay. What is that movie? And I'm gonna say why, but you don't have to.
It's always a question of like who wants to go first.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm gonna have to have like a chore wheel or something to designate who's gonna go first.
I mean, alright, I'll go first. I love the Grand Budapest Hotel, and by extension, any Wes Anderson movie. Also, weirdly, Scott Pilgrim. when I stop Scott Pilgrim and I hear like the 8-bit Universal theme, I'm just like, yes, this feels right. This feels good.
Like,
and then the narration kicks in. It's like, not so long ago in the mysterious land of Toronto, Canada.
and obviously there's I like that that you pick Scott Pilgrim as an example because, I mean, the movies don't have to be perfect to be comfort movies, right?
That's what I love about it, like comfort movies.
It's like, I know the movie's not great, but let me enjoy it, damn it! Right? Like, that's like, I do like that you brought up Scott Pilgrim though, because that's a really good example of like a comfort movie. Because I personally never was the biggest fan of Scott Pilgrim, but I could totally see how that's like, oh, please let me watch this. To like,
I just love the editing and like the way they
the editing and like all the fun visuals.
And the casting is just very fun.
Yeah, I'm
like,
down to watch Mary Elizabeth Winstead in anything. She's so good.
Huntress represent.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead is really good. I like seeing Chris Evans and Brie Larson in like villainous roles. I know she hasn't.
Marvel actors in not Marvel roles.
And I know she's not like a part in the movie, but like I just love seeing Aubrey Plaza in Aubrey Plaza. I don't know, I got the name wrong. Aubrey Plaza in anything. I think the "How are you doing that with your mouth" thing is like one of my favorite jokes in that movie.
Is great, yeah.
And Michael Cera playing Scott Pilgrim. I mean, again, Scott Pilgrim as a character is not that great, but Michael Cera, come on, Michael Cera's got a dorky charm to him that just works, you know?
Yeah. And like, oh man, so a friend got me into The Expanse, and a little while before that, I watched 2004 Punisher for the first time, and both have Thomas Jane. I rewatched Scott Pilgrim with that friend, and one of the vegan police is Thomas Jane.
And I think that is why, despite whatever flaws Scott Pilgrim versus the World has as a movie as well, what makes it fun? It's like serious plot. It's got like, okay, serious plot line, sure, but super serious characters, like plots that has to be all this grimdark. Get that shit out of here. We're gonna have the movie be about boss fights. God damn it.
Oh man, yeah. Also, weirdly, another movie that's like, I've just recently considered this a comfort movie, but another movie that's like not great. Well, I hesitate to say it's not great because it's fucking good, but I would say one that has not aged well in terms of like sensitivity.
Oh no!
But just like a still great movie is Kick-Ass, because like, oh man, I would say that's a comfort movie of mine. But oh, so many slurs, so many.
To be fair, I was a movie that I still enjoy to this day, even though it hasn't aged the greatest, is Superbad. And that movie is pretty liberal with how it uses certain words, like certain slurs, and it's like, not like aged well, but it's still funny for the most part.
and the thing too with any movie that's aged well is that if you put it in the context of the times, right? I was just watching. Have any of you heard of Retro Replay?
Oh yeah, I love that.
I think I've heard of it.
It's a Nolan North's YouTube channel where he plays games and talks with voice actors and gets to be silly for an hour. And
used to be with Troy Baker, but then he left. So
yeah, so now he gets other people like John DiMaggio, Phil LaMarr, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
But on that topic of Phil LaMarr, he actually invited Phil LaMarr on for a show, and he invited him to talk about the at the time hot button issue of race representation in voice acting. And Phil LaMarr brilliantly broke it down into 3 arguments: the ideal, the practical, and what's going on now, right? Ideally, all things considered, actors should play whoever they should damn well please. And then the practical is that just doesn't work, because practically producers are at the end of the day trying to make movies money, and using the example of Dr. Hibbert, the original voice actor Harry Shearer was already doing a bunch of characters. I think he was Mo Sizlek, or am I getting? He was a bunch of other characters. So they were like, "Hey, there's this doctor line there's a couple of doctor lines here on page 38. Let's get Harry Shearer to play that and whatever." Plus the age of the Simpsons. The Simpsons came out as its own show in 1989, so you know, and I think anybody who wants to kind of like get a peek into how like voice acting and race and everything works, I highly recommend that you check out the Retro Replay episode with Phil Lamar, where he talks about it, and I'll even give you the specific time code. It's 33 minutes and 20 seconds in when he starts talking about it.
Ooh.
So I highly recommend you check it out, just because it's a really cool insight into it from one of the most iconic voice actors of all time. And Nolan North.
And Nolan North.
Sorry, not to belittle Nolan North or anything, but you know, Nolan North was there too. But Phil Lamar is the one to really pay attention to for that, because he's the one who's explaining everything really well. My comfort movie, oh boy, it's really weird, because my comfort movie is not a traditional movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's not even technically a single movie. It's any David Attenborough documentary series, any of them. Planet Earth, Life in Cold Blood, Blue Planet. You put it in and
listen to that man talk.
Yeah.
Ages.
Yeah, but if I had to pick like a specific one, I think I would have to do the original Blue Planet, because it's the most nostalgic to me, because it is the oldest one that still holds up particularly well. The Blue Planet, the first one, is turning 20 years old this year.
Oh, nice.
Came out in 2001, and the cinematography is still absolutely beautiful. And of course, David Attenborough is wonderful as a narrator. So, like, between him and Morgan Freeman, they're those guys that we just have to like get into a voice booth, say every word in the English language, so that when they die, we can, with the permission of the estate, keep using their voice. But again, that's with the permission of the estate, and that's a bit deep of a topic to talk about for another time, because oh my Jesus. Zelda Williams talked about the importance of estate rights in regards to certain things, and that's a fascinating kettle of fish that we could talk about another time. But
for sure,
yeah, God bless Zelda Williams, man.
Honest, definitely.
All right, here's a fun one. We as movie-going audiences and such, as we go, we have those movies that we really want to see, but for one reason or another, they get canceled. We just never get around to seeing them. They get stuck in development hell for 20 years, and then they come out and then they're shit. That sort of thing. So, with that being said, and let's see, I believe it's Mono's turn to start us off with this one. What was one movie that you want to see that you have not had the opportunity to yet for one reason or another?
Oh, I never got to talk about the comfort movies.
Oh shoot! Sorry, I thought. Shoot! Sorry. This is me jumping the gun. Oh God.
It's okay. It's okay. If you want, I can like lightning round through this like little list here.
Let's postpone that. Actually, let's focus on the comfort movies for now. Then maybe we can just lightning round through the movies that we want to see that we haven't seen yet. Because I feel awful for doing that now.
It's okay. It's okay. I promise. I have like a little list here, and I'll try to keep my reasonings a little short. Nightmare on Elm Street 1. I think it's a very fun, very classic horror movie, and it's the most serious Nightmare on Elm Street movie without being a little too edgy, like the 2010 remake. And Freddy is still a bit of a goofball, but he can still be seen as very scary. the original Mortal Kombat movie, because I think
Hell
even
yeah.
as silly as it is, it's still a very fun and classic movie, and I can just turn it on once in a while, and it'll just make me laugh and be happy.
Plus,
Napoleon Dynamite.
oh,
Napoleon
Napoleon.
Dynamite, I missed that movie.
I still don't understand what the hell was going on in that movie, and I've seen it twice now. Like,
It's such an awkward movie, but oh, it's so memorable for
There's
how
just something
awkward.
nice about like the plainness of it is.
yeah,
Like, it's very low budget, but it adds to the charm.
absolutely.
Also, what were you gonna say about the MK movie before I continue?
Right, with the MK movie, I just wanted to say it also gave us the gift of Kerry Tagawa as Shang Tsung, so...
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
What if I played Shang Tsung in every Mortal Kombat adaptation
think
from
Kerry
now
Tagawa-
until the end of time?
Kerry Tagawa should, because like he was made for that role.
I think he is Shang Tsung.
Literally.
Right?
3 more on my little list here. Mad Max Fury Road, because
Okay.
that's a movie
Oh.
I can just kind of turn my brain off and just enjoy the action. I love that most of the movie is literally just chase scenes and action involving cars. I think that's just extremely cool.
I got an anecdote about that one, actually, but I'll let you finish the list before we get to that anecdote for Mad Max
Alright.
Fury Road.
Furiosa is a very compelling protagonist to follow, and I definitely like all the characters, like at least like the main characters we follow.
Yeah.
The Shape of Water, very odd movie, but I think it's like, I'm a fan of, I need to watch more Guillermo del Toro movies.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
he
like
just has
The Shape
Yeah.
of Water
Oh
is
my God.
Guillermo del Toro to a T, man.
like the way he humanizes monster characters and the way he does these weirder fantasy films is just great. Honestly, it's one of my favorite romantic movies. Oddly enough, it's a very odd fairy tale type movie, and I love it. And last but certainly not least is Megamind.
Oh yeah.
My sister would love to could talk Megamind with you all day, mano. She freaking loves that and the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy.
Oh, good taste, good taste. Megamind is not only like a really, really funny satire on like supervillain, like or not even satire, but parody on supervillains. It has a good soundtrack. I love all the rock and all the Michael Jackson music put throughout it. The voice cast is just very stellar. It's very funny, and I like that it touches on incels way before that was like a mainstream issue.
Right? I mean, that it's just how it's just a fantastic movie because it was ahead of its time in at least one aspect, and that one thing that it was ahead of is like, oh Jesus, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
And it's like anything you can think of, Megamind probably did it first.
Literally.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the thing in Spider-Verse with like hiring Hollywood sexy man Chris Pine as like the perfect Peter Parker, you know, and then bringing in schlubby Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, you know, Megamind did that with Brad Pitt as like Metro Man, and then hiring Will Ferrell as, you know, this villain turned like good guy. Not the exact parallel, but like you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah.
the casting was on point for that. So before
That and I just love Megamind as a character. Last thing I'm gonna say is that like it's just he's very entertaining. I love seeing this like flamboyant, dorky supervillain try to be threatening, but just consistently fail, but still manage to take out Metro Man, quote unquote.
with Copper. Yeah, it was Copper. Before we get on to the one movie you want to see thing that that Mono's going to start, I wanted to have a quick anecdote about Mad Max Fury Road, because when Mono brought it up, I remembered my mom and my dad watched Mad Max Fury Road. My dad loved the first two Mad Max movies, and he genuinely, he told me, I asked him how it was afterwards because I knew he liked Mad Max. I wanted to get his opinion. He said that Mad Max Fury Road was the worst movie he had ever seen. I am not kidding. And you know how like Mad Max is like, Mom loved Mad Max Fury Road, and a lot of people really like Mad Max Fury Road, and I'm like, and I asked him how he thought of the movie. He's like, it was the absolute worst movie that he had ever seen. Or like one of the worst movies he had ever seen. And I'm like, wait, why? Because and he
see the same movie.
Yeah.
He told me that he I don't remember exactly why he said it was the worst, but I think it was that he it was too tonally different from the original Mad Max movies, and he just could not get into it for one reason or another. So, you know, and my dad's a bit of a harsh critic, so I don't know.
I mean, it's the only Mad Max movie I've ever watched.
All the Mad Max movies, and they're pretty like tonally solid all the way across.
I think he just I think he just wasn't a big fan of the more modern, like, I think he liked Mad Max because it was a low budget movie that became a massive success, and then they turned it into a big budget movie, and he's like, he just could not stomach it for whatever reason. But I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was hilarious that Mad Max Fury Road is this well-liked movie, and Mono brought up how it's a comfort movie for them, and I remember my dad not liking Mad Max Fury Road, and so I just thought it was a funny juxtaposition. But you're up on the movie that you want to see that either has not happened yet, will not happen, etc., etc., whatever reason for that movie not happening or not being able to be seen. Even if it's just like, I've just never gotten around to it.
Okay, so to go off something I said a couple minutes ago, I want to watch more Guillermo del Toro movies, and Pan's Labyrinth is on Netflix, and I keep putting off watching it.
Do it! It's fucking good!
It looks like such a good movie, because like,
we studied it in film studies, it's fucking good! You should watch it!
I need to, because like, between the designs of like the creatures that I've seen and the setting and like where the movie takes place and the tone, it just looks so fun and interesting. And one thing while I'm still talking about Guillermo, he is directing a Pinocchio movie, and I actually really want to see that.
It was canceled.
Is that really? That's actually a thing?
Yeah, I thought it was canceled, honestly.
Is it? I'd have to take a look. Because like, I mean, I heard it's still planned for a 2021 release. Not only do I want to watch it just because it's directed by Guillermo, it has probably my like favorite dream actors that you could put all in one movie. Because you have Ewan McGregor, you have Ron Perlman, Tilda Swinton, Cate Blanchett. Like, you just have a bunch of these actors that I really, really like seeing, and you have them in this movie. And it's supposed to be like a darker retelling of Pinocchio. And apparently, like, from what I know, it takes place in like fascist Italy, and that's like another very interesting thing.
Oh, yeah.
Del Toro's big on his fascism. You're gonna hit that hard with Pan's Labyrinth.
Well, tearing fascism to pieces, but you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Another thing I love about his movies is that he explores different time periods. Like, Shape of Water was like in the 50s, Pan's Labyrinth was in the 40s, and then this is in the 30s, I believe. It's just great.
Yeah, I just wanted to have a quick look. I looked into it, and it turns out that Pinocchio is on track to be released, but it might get delayed to 2022, quote, or later, because Netflix has this paradigm of releasing 6 animated originals a year for movies. So my guess is that if they reach that slate, Pinocchio's going to get moved back, but it's definitely on track to happen. Like,
I want to see it. I need to see it. I want it to come out. I need to. And, like, I have a Netflix account, so if it's on Netflix, that's, like, the best case scenario, because, like, I can just watch it in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah. I am keen on this being... Hopefully it turns out really good. Well, I mean, of course it's going to turn out really good. It's Guillermo del Toro, for fuck's sakes. But, yeah. One movie I genuinely really want to see that just refuses to be released for one reason or another, because it's been in talks of being a thing since the series was officially like released into the wild. Was God of War was gonna have
Nice.
God of War supposedly had a movie in the works since 2005.
Jeez.
Keep in mind,
Oh
the
my gosh.
the first game came out on my birthday, March 22nd, in 2005. So in a weird sense, Kratos and I share a birthday. It's weird, but it's been almost what 2005, 2010, 2015, 2020. It's been 16 years since God of War was a franchise, and they've had a movie in the works, in development hell, for just as long. And I partially understand why, because it's a video game movie, and video game movies historically have had a history of being awful. But
Yeah.
like, it's a dude killing a god for revenge for killing his family. You can make this work. Even if you decide, you know what, we're gonna make a Netflix series instead about old man Kratos with Atreus instead. Do it!
Yeah.
Come on,
Do
man!
it, please.
Come on, man! Like with Ragnarok coming out probably in 2022, God of War is called God of War Ragnarok. I don't think that's gonna be its real title, but you have the potential there, and I think this is part of the problem with quick rant incoming of video games becoming more cinematic. Last of Us Part 2, God of War, Uncharted. Them becoming more cinematic is a good thing, but then that also means there's less of an incentive to make a video game movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad, that is a fact of life. That why should we make a Last of Us movie when The Last of Us is a movie? It's just interactive. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not even like digging into the narrative decisions or whatever the hell, but that's the ultimate final point that I wanted to say is that I just want this God of War movie to, even if it's complete garbage, just release it so that I can finally, a little bit selfish here, so that I can finally have a God of War movie to go with this video game franchise I practically grew up with, whether that's a good thing or not, in order to at least have something cinematic, properly cinematic, I should say, relating to God of War. I even remember people fan casting the lead singer of Disturbed, David Draymond, as Kratos, and I'm like, guys, just because he's a bald guy who sings about dark shit doesn't mean that he's cut out to play Kratos. Come on, man. Anyway, that's my movie that I'm probably never gonna see that I want to see, is that fucking God of War movie. What's yours, Matty?
Oh man, where do I begin? This whole conversation, I've just been looking through my Letterboxd watch list. And there's a lot I have for all the movies. Like, if you say I haven't seen, this movie, and people go, oh, "What? Really?" No, Pan's Labyrinth, as a
as a relevant example, yeah.
For all those types of movies that I've seen, there's a lot I also haven't seen. So, I haven't seen The Thing.
Ooh.
I haven't seen Trainspotting. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now. A lot of classic movies. I haven't seen Taxi Driver, Shawshank Redemption, all that. There's a lot of martial arts movies. I love Chinese martial arts movies, so there's a lot of those on here.
Yeah, Enter the Dragon, I think was the one.
I've seen Enter the Dragon, but Fist of Fury's on there.
No, but that's also like an example of it, right?
Yeah. Those kinds of movies, yeah. And I also have a lot of Jackie Chan flicks. I have Police Story, which is the one where he does that stunt where he slides down that metal pole for 50 feet and crashes into the lights.
Poor bastard did those stunts himself too.
Oh man. And I also have a couple of a bunch of animated movies. So there's a lot of Hellboy short films that I have not seen. So like
Oh, I know the
Blood
one
and Iron was one, but I've seen that one. So there's also like Sword of Storms and
Sword
the
of
Iron
Storms. Sword of Storms is so good.
Sword of Storms
Yeah.
was the one with the Japanese ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I have a bunch. Oh, there's this one like independent Swedish film called Rendell. It's like a dark anti-hero film that I always wanted to watch. I haven't seen Get Out.
I was about to say you like
I
like
need to
you
get
have.
out.
I was about to say there's all these iconic movies. Get Out, the Hellboy animated movies are but it's because of Hellboy and Ron Perlman, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm mostly just here for Ron Perlman. I love that dude.
Apocalypse
movies-
Now and all of this, and then you just pull out this indie Swedish movie. That's a
I mean,
curveball if I ever
I
heard
watched
one.
the trailer. I watched the trailer once, and I still have not seen it, and I need to see it. You know.
I don't even know where you
like-
would start with that though.
Oh man, but yeah, just I have so many movies from all different types. I have a lot of like classic Hollywoods. So like Holiday with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. You know, like those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
I still have not seen Bad Boys. You know. And all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, a wide selection.
I think we all
I
have
think-
that selection. I like that yours though it, like spans so many genres. And again, to bring back was
Yeah.
the curveball of the Swedish indie horror movie to get lumped in with movies
No,
like
superhero movie. Superhero movie. It's like an anti-hero vibe kind of thing.
yeah, but still
Yeah.
the Swedish indie film thrown in
Yeah,
the same
I'll just-
category as like Apocalypse Now. This is why I love media properties, man. It's,
Yeah, that's
This is why I love
Media
studying media, because
properties.
like think about like how disparate you could go, and then you would still be like, that sounds fantastic.
I'll drop the trailer in the server, but I
Oh,
think
please.
I would like to check this out once
yeah,
we're
once we're
done.
done, I'll drop it. But I think if I had to pick, I can't pick just one.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go for three then. Crazy Rich Asians, I definitely want to watch.
That's another one I've been wanting to see.
I want to watch the Predator remake that happened in like 2018.
It is awful. It's awful.
Excellent. I will be on that as soon as possible.
No, it's awful for more than just it being bad quality. It's bad for it's
Fair
bad.
enough.
It's bad thematically, and I'll explain that once you finish up your list.
Yeah, and I also want to watch. I should not have limited myself to three. American Ultra, probably. I like stoner movies.
That's,
The only stoner movie I've seen is Pineapple Express.
I mean, stoner movies are pretty good. Just like any of the Jay and Silent Bob movies.
yeah.
Like any of Kevin Smith movies. You can watch those and have a
Yeah.
good time. I want to watch American Ultra because it's like Jesse Eisenberg plays this stoner who's actually like a sleeper agent. He gets activated. And he just spends the whole movie wondering what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So before we move on to the next topic, I want to talk about the Predator because you brought it up. You want to see the
Yeah.
Predator.
Yeah.
Oh, but I just realized it is super spoilery to talk about. But
I mean, if it's like a bad movie, like, go ahead.
okay. Well, it's a bad movie for Predator fans, and for full disclosure, I'm on the autism spectrum, and this is relevant because the main
Oh, I know
bad
where this is going.
the main bad super predator. I've seen the movie, so this is real. The main bad super predator is after this 9-year-old kid who has autism, because I shit you not, this predator wants to genetically steal the kid's autism to make him a better hunter. I cannot make this up, man. Like, I like bonkers concepts, and I understand that, you know, autism can, and hey, autism can lead to many great things, like thinking outside the box and all that. But autism has a lot of fucking caveats, man, and that's a pretty awkward look when it's like, when they treat autism as a superpower. Man, if it's a superpower, it's fucking D tier, man. It's got so much that like, because it's a full spectrum. Like for me, I'm mostly functioning, but I have my own issues, in quote. And then you have non-verbal, non-functioning. It's like, autism isn't a superpower, guys. I don't know where this... I don't understand 100% where this trope started, but autism is not a fucking superpower, and no alien hunter is going to travel 30 God knows how many light years to come to Earth to steal a mental condition from a kid. Especially considering how much that flies in the face of Predator lore. But, like, God, Shane Black's Predator... Like, it's awful for so many reasons, but, like, I can laugh at the very least at most of it, and I can kind of laugh at the autism thing, too, but, like, I can't blame people who look at that and go, what the fuck, man?
Alright, then, in lieu of, decent quality, I will swap out Predator for, Terminator. I still haven't seen the first Terminator.
That's 100% fair. And, I mean, if you want to watch Shane Black's Predator, I'm not saying don't watch Shane Black's Predator. I'm just warning you, that movie is bad bonkers. It is bad bonkers. Watch it to Mystery Science Theater the hell out of it. That's all I'll say.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I want to comment on the Hellboy animated movies. They're okay for what they are, but I will say I will take those movies over the 2019 reboot any day. I still have not watched it. And the day I do, I'm gonna make sure I have like enough alcohol to get me through it.
You know what? You need to get you, me, Matty, and a couple of other people. We need to live watch it together, and we need to get a few shots in this, and we need to shred this movie.
Now, I did
Record
see
my pain
2019
watch it.
Hellboy in theaters. It was like, how best to... I won't say it was bad. Like, you can go in, like, you can watch it as a bad... You can watch it to dunk on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like an unpleasant experience.
It's like...
But
it's...
I won't say it's good either.
It's a 4 out of 10 movie. It's not good, but it's not atrocious.
Yeah, like, you can go in and go out and have, like, a solid movie-going experience.
Yeah, I'm picturing it as like a 4 out of 10. Like, you can derive enjoyment out of it, but it's not a good movie.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to put it.
Like, the comics have had their darker moments, yes, but when I learned that the movie was going to be rated R, I was a little bit wary because, like.
I mean, Hellboy should be like a soft R at most, right?
Like a soft R, but the movie tries to go for a hard R because I know there's a lot of swearing and a lot of heavy blood and gore, and it's just like, that is not prevalent in the comics for the most part. Like, yeah, there's some violent stuff in the comics here and there, but Hellboy's character isn't just him slaying monsters 24/7. It is far more about, like, the investigative side.
Yeah. It's like a detective movie more than a monster movie.
Yeah, but I won't go too deep into it.
Well, trust me, we'll have time to shred that movie one of these days. But all right, last topic, and I'm going to, for at least on this list, and I'll get started on this front. I kind of had to tack this on at the end of this one because I'm not sure whether to. No, you know, I'm gonna make it its own category actually. But I'm gonna put it ahead of. I'm gonna put it ahead of the original last topic, so it's still the last topic. So we've had those movies. I'm sure everybody has had these movies where we watched it and we were like, never again. In fact, to the point of, do not watch this movie to your friends. And it can even be that it's a good movie. It's just that for whatever reason, it's like, don't watch it. No, don't Nope. If you put it in there, I'm slapping you upside the head with a frying pan. Don't do it. And for me, to start it off, I think Maddie might know this more than anybody here, but who has heard of plague dogs?
I feel like I've heard of that. I think I might have heard of this.
Maddie, are you familiar?
I have nope.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, okay. I needed to see if I knew. Like, it's exactly what I thought it was. Okay. Yeah, I know what this is.
Yes. Okay. So, Plague Dogs. For those not in the know, Plague Dogs is an old late 70s, early 80s animated movie. Keyword: animated movie. From England. It came out after Watership Down. I know that much for sure. And Watership Down is its own kettle of fish. But because that is a drug trip and a half of a movie. Even though it's technically marketed for families, it is not a family-friendly movie. I'll tell you that much right now. And Plague Dogs is worse. It's not even spoilery because in the first minute, the credits haven't even finished rolling yet for this movie. And a dog is drowned and then resuscitated and then put back in a cage because it's an experimental lab, and this dog's whole deal is to be experimented on getting drowned over and over again. And the other dog is a victim of a botched brain surgery. And they escape, and they try to, make their lives out of it. And it is, in my mind, the epitome of hopeless despair, the movie, because nothing good happens to these dogs. They try living in the wild. They get conned out of their food by a fox. The dog with the brain surgery that used to have an owner, while they were on the run because they were said to be rabid, the dog, the hunter doesn't know. This human hunter doesn't know, and he's like, "Hey, come here, boy!" And he was going to adopt the dog and at least take the brain damaged dog home, but the brain damaged dog accidentally shoots the hunter and kills him, and that is the brightest spot of the movie. That is the closest. I'm not kidding. This is the closest that the dogs get to having any semblance of a happy moment in the movie. And it's like, what? This is an animated movie about a couple. If this was handled by any other company, this would be a feel-good story about friendship and survival. This is a movie about, you know what? We are going to shatter hearts and turn people into hopeless creatures. There is no hope. There is no point in doing good because good is ephemeral and it will be taken away from you in a heartbeat. Don't bother looking for good. That is the impression I got out of the movie because it's just the animation's beautiful and it's fantastic and all, but when I saw the movie, I only came away with, was the point of this movie to show that goodness is never really a thing? Because that was the impression I got out of it. It's good things are not real, basically. Because again, the dog hallucinates good things with the brain surgery, while the more cynical dog is the one who's leading things, the one who is always abused by humans and thus doesn't trust them. He's the one who's leading the charge. And then the one chance that they have at a potential good home, the brain damaged dog accidentally ruins by shooting the hunter in the face. And it's good God, if you want to okay, if you want to watch Plague Dogs, obviously I can't stop you from watching the movie, but I implore you, please don't, because it's one of those movies, it is the movie above all others that genuinely I think came the closest to being a purely there is no hope, good is not real, the only thing that truly exists in this world is misery and suffering type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
So it sounds like a depressing movie to watch. You'd have to be
like,
you.
it's
Just
not.
don't be in a bad mental place to watch it.
It's not
sort of
just
thing.
like it can. I was in a good mood when I watched the movie, and it brought me down to a level of what the fuck, you know? I can't imagine if you're going through a rough spot, you see the plague dogs, and they're like, "This looks kind of cute." Pop it in and watch a dog get drowned in the first minute of the movie. Like, no, man. Like, genuinely, as much as I would like to say that this movie is like good visually, it like story-wise, it also kind of it tries to be like this thing, but I just can't take it anymore. I just can't take away a message other than good things are not real. The only true part of reality is hopelessness, despair, and misery. It's like, oh man.
The movie I was going to bring up feels very similar to what you were detailing. It's not a movie I would outright say don't ever watch, but it's a movie that I would have to give a bunch of warnings. And I'm sure both of you know what this is, but like, I love this movie, but Hereditary is a movie that is very, very hard to recommend to other people.
I know this movie. I have not seen it.
Me neither.
I will not spoil it, but the movie covers topics that can be extremely like hard to watch just because of how painfully relatable it can be, and also just kind of deals with a lot of like darker imagery and themes, and I really cannot go into the details because it would just like there's so much that you have to watch like blind with this movie. I made the mistake of watching Hereditary late last year around finals week when I was already very stressed, very mentally like drained from school,
and
that
COVID
only made it worse. It made it worse.
Yeah.
Oh God! So
Yeah.
so it's not like
it's
not like you don't want to not recommend it, but it's like be careful.
Literally, it's a good horror movie, but fuck, is it sad?
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up when I mentioned To Your Lost Death, which is a good movie, right? You should watch it. But also, yeah, there's a lot in it that could be super, super triggering to the point where I, like, fucking made an account on Does the Dog Die just so I could update the page for this movie. Because,
no.
I personally don't have any triggers, so, like, I'm kind of lucky in that regard. I could just, like, walk into a movie blind, and, like, if there's heavy stuff, I can kind of just move past.
Yeah.
But, you know, I understand that's not the case for everybody, and so, like, if you do have some kind of triggering response to any of the things in To Your Lost Death, and there's a lot of them, yeah, you should just probably be wary of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Our Last Death.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So is that the movie that you would?
No. No, that's a good movie and you should watch it, but that's just like be careful. Geez, I'm looking through my lowest ranked on Letterboxd, and I don't know. None of these I would say are like the bottom of the barrel. Don't ever watch them. But I just think they all suck.
Yeah.
So like just to read like the top 5, I have Rise of Skywalker, Batman v Superman, Minions, Shin Godzilla, and Batman the Killing Joke. And those are like my top 5 lowest ranked movies.
Whoa. Wait. Why is Shin Godzilla like at the bottom of the barrel?
I thought it sucked.
Oh, wow.
Godzilla's design was ugly, and it was like super propaganda-y and...
Oh, okay. Well, hold on. I have to jump in to defend Shin Godzilla for a second here. I understand that with Shin Godzilla, it is one of those movies that not a whole lot happens, and yeah, you say propaganda-y because it involves the government. It's it is a satire of the slowness of bureaucracy, and it's basically taking jabs at the Japanese government, and it's supposed to be, because I watched the original Godzilla before I watched Shin Godzilla. It kind of reminds me of, like, that's what it's going for. It's more of a it's a political thriller with a giant monster in it. That's what it is. Right? And
I picked it up for like 50p in an exchange store, so maybe I'll go back and watch it with this new lens, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll
like,
enjoy it more.
Yeah, treat it as like a political drama with a giant monster attached to it, and you'll probably like it better. But
fair enough. I will stick my final answer as Batman: The Killing Joke, though. 'Cause, oh fuck!
How do you like? I will agree with you on this one, but like I just want to say this: how on God's green earth do you take The Killing Joke, decide let's add 30 minutes of Barbara Gordon Batgirl to for the audiences that don't
Pad it out, yeah, which is fine, which is like solid in that regard.
Yeah, pad it out. Maybe get those audiences that need maybe get the audiences to be attached to Batgirl that are just watching the movie, they haven't read the comics, whatever. Fine. Yeah. How do you take that and completely fuck it up? Like you were handling it okay for the most part, and then you were just like, oh, this is fine, China, yeet into a wall. Like,
it's just, it's so funny. It's like, oh, we wanted to give Barbara more to do so that it didn't feel.
I'm gonna see if Bruce Timm worked on this movie.
He did.
Oh,
He did.
He has this weird fixation with Bruce and Barbara as like a thing, and it's creepy.
Like, I think it was either him or Paul Dini, one of the two. They're incredibly horny with like their DC work. Like,
it's that's Bruce Timm, and I can actually attest to this in person. Because I have met Bruce Timm in person. I have met Bruce Timm in person. I think I mentioned this in a group chat before, but he's an interestingly grumpy person in real life. I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. But yeah, it was Bruce Timm who was involved in the Killing Joke movie. Paul Dini did Black Canary Zatanna Bloodspell, which was really good as a book.
Oh, that was good. I love that book.
So I would like Paul Dini also wrote Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. So like he does good. He's definitely the story guy for Batman the Animated Series. Bruce Timm, he just handled the art. And whenever he gets his story input, for some reason he decides to try and pair the Commissioner's daughter with the Commissioner's best friend?
I've never found that comfortable at all, especially when like I know like the way you can interpret their dynamic can be different from one person to the next, but like I've always seen Bruce as somewhat of like another father figure or like an uncle figure.
Yeah, Uncle Bruce. That's a perfect example of what I'm thinking of, right?
Like, it's just not, it's not good. I don't like it, and it just kind of feels weird to be like, hey, typically one female character that works with Batman, at least in, like, these specific movies and stuff, let's just pair her romantically and sexually with Batman for no real reason and call that, like, a good addition to her character in the movie.
Yeah. This isn't even the furthest that he's gone with this pairing, but I personally even find it slightly iffy that Barbara Gordon dates Dick Grayson. You know, like I'm the person who like I can see them as good friends, abso-fucking-lutely. And the awkward moment with them being locked in a box by Crazy Quilts, sure, we'll leave that in. Awkward moments happen, but I don't see them as romantic partners per se. If you want to put them as romantic partners, I'm not as like violently anti Babs or Dick Babs as some people are, but it's like it's not the pairing I would have Dick Grayson go with.
Starfire's right there.
Yeah, I would absolutely keep him with the Golden Goddess, and personally, if I were to ship Babs with anybody, it would be Black Canary. That's how I would ship Babs with personally. Her or Ted Kord, Blue Beetle, because they had a thing going there for a little bit, but but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so that was Batman the Killing Joke for Maddie. Hereditary more so as a warning via mono, and then for me, Plague Dogs. Yeah, no. Do not watch Plague Dogs.
Yeah, it looks like I was looking at the Wikipedia page. I think I'm good.
Yeah, no, it is rough, man. And on the topic of rough, in what, not pun not intended, movies that made you sad. This is the last one on here. And I know I just talked about a dog getting drowned, and we talked about the woeful sexualization and one could argue infantilization.
Yeah, but that's
of,
like angry sad. You mean like emotional sad?
Yeah, like you
we're
watch
talking
you
about
watch a
sad from
movie.
poignant-
What is the movie that can most consistently make you cry? Maddie, what do you got?
I'm gonna save my one for last.
Ooh,
All right, then
okay, then.
Mono.
All right, then Mono
Because
goes.
it's like the obvious one, but I don't think.
I guess I'll go first here then.
Yeah.
It's not a movie that consistently makes me cry, but I wanted to highlight one of the few, because I don't really cry at movies too often.
Me
One of the
neither.
few movies that actually managed to break me, and this was when I was younger, and I still kind of get sad watching the movie, but not enough to cry, is The Fox and the Hound.
Oh, why did you bring up The Fox and the Hound?
Because, like, there's so many scenes in that movie that upset me. There's two scenes in particular I remember crying at. The scene where the Fox's caretaker, the older woman, drives him into the woods to drop him off, and
Yep.
it takes him a while to realize that, oh, this isn't just some fun little trip, I'm getting abandoned. And the scene towards the end of the movie where the hunter man is about to shoot the fox, but the hound gets in the way to block the shot, like to keep him from shooting.
Yeah.
After everything those two have argued through, like throughout the movie, like they're falling out as friends, like he's still at the end of the day is like, no, I can't let this happen. Like as a little kid, both of those scenes just absolutely broke me.
Absolutely.
And The Fox and the Hound is still one of my favorite movies because I think it's not only like a very fun movie, but it's also like the good kind of emotional movie. It's not something that will depress you, but it'll definitely tug at your heartstrings a bit, especially if you're like a younger child watching it.
Yeah, I totally get that. I brought this movie up 4 times now, but again, I'm not much of a movie person, so I kind of have like a relatively small cadre of movies that I'm overly familiar with, and an even smaller cadre that I overly watch. And it's The Land Before Time. I still get choked up whenever I see the mom died, because for me, family is one of the most important things ever. Like, without family, I would be lost, and I would be... let's just say bad things probably would have happened. So whenever I'm in that scene, I get attached and I picture what would happen if my mom had died trying to save my life. And oh god, I'm just getting it going now. Oh no, I don't. No, I don't like that. But then here's the thing: it always makes me cry twice. Once during that moment where mom dies, and then at the end with the angelic choir, the flashbacks and the memories going in, because it's like it's a happy cry, because it's like, man, this little dino has been through so much, and he's finally there, and he finally made it to paradise, which is why it fucking kills me whenever I remember the fan theory that the Great Valley is heaven and all of the kid dinosaurs are actually dead. Like,
Man.
like the theory is sound, but it's just like, it kills me when I remember it, because it's like, of course it's all the happy memories at this point in the movie when they finally made it to paradise. He's watching his life flash before his eyes and he died. Ah, come on. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. I get that.
it's fucking ridiculous. So what's yours then, Maddie?
My big time cry movie is Dark Knight. No, I'm joking. My big time cry movie, and what's weird is I've only seen this like once or twice in my life, but I remember crying so strongly. is the best Superman movie in creation, The Iron Giant.
Oh, my dad,
Oh, man.
my dad will love you, Matty, for that one because he loves the Iron Giant.
It's so good. And like again, I've only seen this like twice in my life. I don't even remember it that well, but I remember just like openly weeping, and I remember never crying that hard in another movie ever again.
Superman.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel,
Oh.
man, what a national treasure that hulking monster of a man is.
It's just so good. I remember crying, and I remember Superman, and it's so good. It's so good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Also, Brian had mentioned Space Jam earlier and like the new trailer, and it kept all my power not to bring it up. But now that you're bringing up the Iron Giant in full, I am so upset that both the new Space Jam
And Ready
Ready
Player
Player
One.
One. Yeah, I've seen a couple
Going-
tweets about this.
like it just goes completely against the point of the movie and why the Iron Giant is such a good character. It's just it's like all for a reference.
That's corporate cinema for you. These guys, the bigwigs don't give a rat's ass about the story. They see people like this character. Why? Who gives a shit? Get them in the movie. And it's like, if you wanted to make it a Warnerverse movie, you could have at least tried to avoid the Ready Player One thing. And I mean, even Ready Player One, at the very least, it wasn't technically the Iron Giant. It was somebody pretending to be the Iron Giant to fight Mechagodzilla, which, hey, that's an Iron Giant thing to do at the very least. The Iron Giant wouldn't play basketball with Bugs Bunny and Superman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll give Ready Player One however little credit you think it deserves for this, but at least the Iron Giant, in quotes, in the movie is doing an Iron Giant thing. It's trying to save somebody by fighting a monster. Losing, but fighting it at the very least, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's, ugh. I think that's the best way to put it. Just, ugh, like you stepped in mud and some of it got in your shoe. But yeah, that just about does it for movies, I think, as a topic. I'm really happy that we managed to get it to work out as well as we did. I was genuinely concerned that we were like not going to have enough material, but
I've been trying to watch a lot more movies, especially ones that aren't superhero related, even though I'm still wanting to watch more superhero movies.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I get the chance, I want to get Superman Man of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, man. I love. It's not super spoilerly because it kind of shows up in the trailers, but I love this detail that Superman's mentor is Martian Manhunter.
I know. It's like one of the biggest, like,
So cool.
Like,
there's like the four big factors that made me want to see this movie so bad. Superman being a good boy, like always. 2, Lois Lane just being a complete badass. Love it. Lobo in general, just, yeah.
yeah.
Like, he's always entertaining, and I love seeing Martian Manhunter get a good amount of screen time.
And
he isn't
doing
killed
something
off or
really
anything.
cool, which is to say he's being a mentor to Superman. And I love, personally, this leads into something I think is always really cool. Like, Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, is always kind of shows up a little bit later, so it's like she's technically older than Clark, but she's also younger because of space-time dilation and whatever. But I genuinely like the idea of Kara Zor-El having to learn her way around Earth, like as like a trope. I genuinely like that idea, and I even kind of picture the idea of her falling in with bad influences. Like, I don't know, she ends up hanging out with the Gotham City Sirens one day, and, you know, gets up to mischief with those guys. You know what I mean? Like, like just the idea of, I mean, I don't know how much Kara Zor-El fans would like that idea. It's just something that I personally am kind of fond of, is that she gets to Earth, she finds out she has powers, Superman, Batman, she has a support network. Hell, the Amazons help her out. And then as she's trying to learn about the world, maybe she falls in with a bad influence, whether that's the Gotham City Sirens or Cadmus or whoever, and then that kind of helps steer her back into being like, you know, who she is, which is a person who's just trying to help, right? And I like the idea of outsiders looking in and then becoming the in crowd. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I love. As much as I don't like watching Kara Zor-El get brainwashed midway through the movie, Superman, Batman, Apocalypse, the first act with Kara Zor-El just figuring out what Earth stuff is about is genuinely charming. Like, watching her eat a hot dog for the first time is hilarious. But yeah, that's one of those things. I think we've settled on next month's topic, my friends. I think we should talk comic stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
that'd be awesome.
And Maddie, I know you're in another group with me, and I think Mono's also in this group. The
server that was set up for Injustice Night.
And then
I don't think I'm in that.
Ooh, we'll have to get Mono in, and then it kind of became.
Oh my gosh!
It kind of became a DC server in general, but we got a lot. There's a lot of people in there. I want to get in there. I want to see if I could like maybe get Anne or Anji or any of the other guys in there. I just want to bring them in, and then we could just talk comics for like 3 or 4 hours, and then that's fucking content for my channel right there.
Absolutely, I would love to be a part of that.
Oh, that would be amazeballs. So I'm gonna start drafting topics now. So if you want to DM me topics that you want me to cover in comics, that'd be fucking excellent.
I'll send in some.
Lovely. And then I think we should just ask around, because we obviously have a connection to comics that isn't like Maddie and I have a connection in the server. I presume Mono has connections elsewhere. So let's see if maybe we can make it like a big 5 or 6 person almost round table of a comic round table, and then we can just sit and discuss for several hours what is the deal with comics and why we love them so goddamn much. So, little teaser for, well, I call it a teaser. It's more of a Warner Brothers teaser. You know, it's a minute and a half that reveals too much. But, you know, but a little teaser for what's going to be going on. I think we might push this up a little earlier, just because I really like this idea way too much. Like, if we can maybe even schedule it for like the 18th, I'm thinking would be really fun. But
let me see what. Oh yeah, that could work.
Yeah, because the 18th is a Sunday, and it gets us ahead of the Mortal Kombat movie, so we'll have that to talk about some other time if any of us end up seeing it. But yeah, so without further ado, I think that wraps up. Thanks again, Mono and Maddie, for coming in. I'm super excited for the next episode.
No problem.
Of course, I'm always happy to be here, and I'm very excited for next time.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a damn good time for sure. So, excuse me, don't forget to be awesome. We'll see all you guys on the other side.